prayer, and then we'll go ahead and hook on with KVSH. So some housekeeping is the restrooms are off over to the left over there. We have there, so anytime you would like some refreshments, feel welcome. If you have not signed in for the community college, they need to keep track of who signs in. So if you haven't done that, please make sure you sign in out there at some point for them. Thank you so much for coming. And first, I would like to invite Pastor Tim to do the invocation.
Good evening, everybody. Will you join me in prayer? Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day today. We thank you for the people that have come here with concerns and interest in how our community and our country and our county and our nation is led. Father, we ask for blessing over this time together. Bless these men and ladies who have stepped up to the plate and are interested in making a change, being a difference, and putting our country on the right path. So, Father, as in our time tonight, we just pray that questions come from the heart, that everybody's concerns here can get addressed. We pray for our candidates to speak honestly from their heart and give what they are wanting and hoping to accomplish. Father, through this conversation, we pray that all the things that are spoken and all the things that are heard are the things that you want us to say and you want us to hear. And Father, we just ask for the blessings over this time. And we pray all these things in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Now, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Also, a little other housekeeping is you all received some index cards when you came in so that you can fill out questions for the candidates. If during the time frame that they're answering questions and you think of another question, please raise your hand if you don't have an index card, and they'll bring an index card to you. If you do have index cards and you go ahead and write your questions down, hold them up, and someone will come and they will get your cards from you, and they'll give them to the group that's sorting them through so that we don't ask questions over and over again, and then they'll hand them to the moderator. So.
Keep rolling. Just
Keep rolling.
A couple of jokes or something.
I am not a good joke person. You a good joke person, Martin?
Not once I can tell.
So all the questions tonight are coming from you, the residents of Cherry County. So there are no pre-done questions here. The candidates have not seen any of the questions. It really is as if they have ran into you on the street corner and you're asking them the question for the first time. So they're not coming into this prepared in any way with some pre-asked questions. The Cherry County GOP did not put the questions together. This literally is a candidate forum for you so that you get to ask them the questions that you really want to have them address. So, well, it looks like it is time. All right. Again, welcome to the Cherry County Republican Party Candidate Forum. I'm Catherine Morris, the Cherry County GOP Chair. Tonight, you will hear first from the 3 Cherry County Commissioner candidates and then the 6 of the 7 Valentine School Board candidates. Your moderator tonight will be Trent Luce. For most of you, Trent probably doesn't need an introduction. But for those of you who don't know him, he is a 6th generation United States rancher, host of multiple radio programs such as Loose Tales, Rural Route Radio Dakota, Trails and Tales Across the Plains, and Loose Tales Food Link. Welcome, Trent, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate that. Mike and I are getting things underway, and this is welcome to the KBSH listening audience as well. What a tremendous opportunity, and we think we're getting along just fine. I'll just lay a few ground rules, guys, just because my job is to make sure that the discussion is vibrant, respectful, and for the benefit of Mike Purge, 7 words will not be spoken in our event this evening. Because you don't pay the fine, he does. And we don't want that to happen. And it's pretty easy to know those 7 words I was taught by people when I started radio. Don't say the words your grandma doesn't want you to say. Martin, you got that?
This is a George Carlin thing, isn't it?
Yeah. What are you doing? Oh, you're going.
I got to share with Shane.
Yeah, that's good. We've already started the sharing mode. Excellent. Where's that, Mike? Where do you know what that's coming from? Or just a little back feed? Okay.
I think it's between these 2 mics.
All right. Well, I'll get away from you. It wasn't that hard to do. Talk me into that. So we do, if you have a question, we want you to just raise your hand. I know this is a bit repetitive. Raise your hand and somebody will rush to you with the card. Our little runner boy. Thank you, Greg. All right. So the protocol for the commissioners is that we will have introductions. Each candidate will have 3 to 4 minutes, and we do have a gong. Remember the gong show, right? Mm-hmm. We have a gong, and 3 to 4 minutes. It is, I think, important to be respectful of that time. Each one of you have 3 to 4 minutes as an introduction, who you are, why you're here, why you think you should be a Cherry County Commissioner. And then on the second round, we'll have some questions. And I'll be rotating in the order of that. And then we'll finish up with the lightning round, which is a yes or no question. And if anybody says maybe, you'll get gonged. All right. Martin Denier, our incumbent in this particular event. You have 3 to 4 minutes for your introduction.
Okay, well, I think most of you probably know me. I've been commissioner for 8 years now, or coming on to 8 years. I am Martin Denier. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. I don't take this job lightly by any means, and I've enjoyed having the job. It's been enjoyable to work with several different commissioners. I see a couple of them that are in the room tonight, and of course, the longer you are the commissioner, the more you get to see different people. One of the things I remember, I think we all in this room can remember a teacher that affected our life in some way, somehow. And mine was Mr. Beidel. I graduated from Mullen High School. And Mr. Beidel was kind of the political science and the history teacher. And he meant a lot to most students. He had a kind of a different way of teaching because he assigned a couple, 3 chapters for the week, and then told you to do the study guide at the end of the week. And if you could do that study guide, you were guaranteed to pass the test. But I will promise you, you didn't talk about anything that was in those 2 chapters during the whole week. That was anything from the wall in China to current events to we weren't learning out of that book, I can promise you, but we were learning so much, So one day, Mr. Beidel, he's like, do you guys, if you were going to serve in your government, what would you want to do? And most people went around the room and they were, I'd be president, or I want to be a senator, a congressman. And, those were kind of the average answers and stuff. And so anyway, Mr. Beidel goes, if you want to make a difference in your community, you'll serve in local government in one capacity or another. Like what you do as a commissioner every day will more directly affect the lives of the people around you, or a school board member, or anything like that. And then being a United States Senator will ever do for you. And I guess that always stuck with me. And so Mr. Beidel passed a few years back. And anyway, I got to tell him I got to be a commissioner before he passed. I got to tell him the story. I thank him. And Bob, I know you're listening. So thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Okay, Shane Daniels.
Yeah, I'm Shane Daniels. Married to my beautiful wife, Christy, for 26 years. Got 4 daughters. 4 granddaughters even. We own and operate our ranch in southern Cherry County. Also do a custom haying business. A couple of those daughters are back in Cherry County growing their families. I'm just going to let you know that I have a strong understanding of the duties and responsibilities of the commissioner's office. One of my goals is to continue to work on the infrastructure of the county. I mean, we got to stay on top of this. We have several bridges that are an issue. We're ranked number 7 out of the 93 counties in Nebraska for the worst bridges. And if we don't start getting a plan in place, we're going to get hard when we have to start replacing all those. There's studies out there. I've got that if anybody wants that. Road departments, that's a huge chunk of our budget. I mean, we need to keep spending in check, but we still need to provide good service of those roads. I think everybody would agree that they want good roads when they pay their taxes. So I'm excited for the opportunity to lead. I'm just excited, and I'll just leave it at that. So thank you.
Greg Hobbs.
My name is Greg Hobbs, and I've been married to my wife Ruth for 4 years in September. She won't let me forget. We've got 6 children, hers, mine, and ours. We've got 8 grandchildren, 1 on the way, 4 great-grandchildren, 1 on the way. So our family's growing. I've worked for the Bow and Arrow Ranch for 30-plus years, and I'm here to stay. And the reason I'm running for commissioner, I'm not one to sit back and complain. I want to dive in and try to help the people. We got a lot of work to do in the county. The roads still need a lot of work. Some of our road employees need trained proper. We've got some employees that are new and they haven't been trained, and you can tell the difference between the roads where you've got somebody that hadn't been trained and somebody has. And we need to keep working on the budget, and we need to keep big government out of Cherry County. Thank you.
Excellent. Nobody even come close to approaching their exceeded time limit. All right. So I have some questions here. I have 2 that are similar, and fortunately I got a great backup team that's going to combine those. And so I'm going to start with Shane. You'll be first this time, if you would, please. This is a combination of the Sandhills and Cherry County hold a multitude of natural resources, including water, groundwater, rivers, grass. In what ways might we protect those resources? And in that vein, how would you define the difference between protection and conservation? I might modify that and say preservation, conservation, and where do you stand on property rights?
Well, yeah, I mean, the last sentence of their property rights are very important to me. I believe that I spent the time, sweat, blood, tears to build and own my property. I kind of deserve the right to do what I want to do, as long as I'm not forcing my neighbors to do something that they don't want to do with theirs. So preservation, we have one of the most unique ecosystems out there in the Sandhills. Water's important. Grass is even important. I mean, grass is just as important. And Christy and I, since 2004, had one of our mottos has been take care of the ground, take care of the grass, and it'll take care of you. So being a good steward of land is very important to Christy and I, and we just have to continue to protect that ecosystem. One of the best ways to protect the Sandhills and the compaction of the soil, because you got to have compaction to grow grass, is with cattle. So take care of the cattle, take care of the ground, and you'll be prosperous.
So I'm going to ask one follow-up question, even though I wasn't given the rules on how I could or couldn't do that, Martin, but I'm the moderator. When it comes to property rights, it really started, I always talk to myself about property rights, how important it was. But it changed for me March 9th, 2021. And it changed that night in Valentine, Nebraska. And I bet every single one of you were here as we had the very first 30 by 30 meeting. And since that night and that day, I have talked about property rights every single possible day. Everybody talks about property rights. People campaign on getting property rights. Kristi Noem campaigned on being the next governor for property rights. And the minute she got elected, she took it off her website. it never follows through. We give lip service to it. How do you as a commissioner, Shane, follow through and make that happen?
Well, you just got to keep big government out of it. Like, I mean, that's getting rid of the red tape, getting rid of the regulations, and not let the federal government come in and say, no, you can't do that, or I'm going to take this from you because the people need it. No, you got to say no to that. Stand up and be firm, broad shoulders, and say no.
Greg Hobbs, you have the same question. Sand Hills, Cherry County, the resources, preservation versus conservation. What do we do as a county commissioner?
As a county commissioner, you need to continue to work with the ranchers, because our ranchers are some of the biggest conservationists we have. They all take care of their land, because if they don't, they're not going to have grass for the cattle. And if we don't take care of the water, EPA is going to come in with big government and take it away from us. So we've got to work on it continuously. It's not something you do today or tomorrow. It's every day.
And my question, which is, how do you physically do something about the property rights instead of just give it rhetoric?
How do we do what now?
How do you actually follow through on what everybody agrees is important, back to this Constitution in my pocket, and bring those property rights to the people of Cherry County?
Well, first of all, we got to keep big government out of it. And then we just have to continue to work with the public on the conservation and keeping clean water and everything with the ranchers and the people of the county.
Thank you, Greg. Martin.
Well, it's been a while since the question was asked, but I know it's easy to say that obviously we as ranchers are, the best ones. We know what's best for it. On my ranch, it's a homestead ranch, and what it looks like now compared to what my grandfather had it is miles difference. But they didn't know any better, and you know what? 2 generations from now, if we're lucky enough to still have it in the ranch and in the family, they'll look back and say, I didn't know any better, probably. So I think we continue to learn, we continue to grow, and we have to keep an open mind and do that. As far as protecting the water, once again, I'll speak, I think, a little bit to what you're trying to say is, whether you endorse Trump or didn't endorse Trump, we threw out WOTUS and this and that during that time frame, which was exactly what needed to be done. Biden jumped in there and started trying to turn the world around again, and maybe people don't agree with that or don't. But as a commissioner on this level, people talk about property rights, and it happens. It starts on the local level. It starts with your planning and zoning. You'll have to be careful to what you wish for, and stuff like that. Because there's a certain limit about when my rights end where yours begin. So we just have to always keep careful consideration on that level as well. So that's my answer.
Thanks, Martin. Just to be clear, you interjected Trump in that. I did not. I put Kristi Noem, but you put Trump. All right, Greg, you're up first. Like all things, it takes time to cultivate relationships. And I think what I read through this is what I hear and experience a lot is people get elected and they want to go into an ivory tower and isolate themselves. How do you maintain relationships with the people who voted for you if you're the county commissioner?
First of all, if I didn't think I was going to be able to do that, I wouldn't be sitting here. I was a private citizen, and in the same way, what do we need to do to work with our commissioners? Well, as a commissioner, you've got to stay with the people that put you in. There are no ifs, ands, or buts. If you don't do what they put you in there for, then you're not going to be there very long, and people are going to not trust you for anything. So we've got to keep the public informed, and they've got to keep us informed. It's kind of, you work together with the public.
Martin.
I guess in my years here, the first couple of years, you're kind of getting your feet wet, and everything's kind of, I don't know. I was a bronc rider for a lot of years, and when you first start out bronc riding, Trent, it's like being in a car accident. You can't remember anything that happened in that 8 seconds, if you even made the 8 seconds. And by the time you're in the middle of your career, you get time to react, and seems like it took a lifetime. And I'd compare it a little bit to that because that's kind of what I know, And so as you get used to being a commissioner and doing stuff, I think you build relationships with the people, and you become a good listener, or you should become a good listener, But it's important that you're a good judge, because there's 1,000 opinions coming at you, and you got to listen to all of them, and you have to weigh out the right from the wrong, or the bad from the good, and kind of sort it out, because unfortunately, they'll be at very different ends of the spectrum, and we all just can't be right, if you know what I mean. So, but being a good listener is important for sure.
I've done a lot of bronc riding, never been in an arena judged by other people because it wasn't pretty to watch. All right, Shane.
Yeah, I mean, communication is a lot of it. The same way with a good marriage, talking to your wife, talking to your spouse, making sure everybody's on the same page moving forward. Transparency, there's got to be transparency in the office as well. People got to have access to everything that we have done and are doing currently. I'd like to move to a system where we can stream the commissioners meeting, get them online, archive them so people can go back and watch them, have microphones so people can hear what's going on, and basically have that to where, it's there. So we know, so everybody, if you can't make the meetings are during the weekday. A lot of people have 9-to-5 jobs, can't make the meetings. So let's get them out there to where the people, well, I'm on, I can jump on, or if I need to go back and watch it at night after I get off work, I'm going to go there. So that would be something I would like to implement.
Okay, we're setting the benchmark right here tonight. We're streaming it live and broadcasting on KBSH. All right, so these softball questions are over. Martin, we're back to you. And keep in mind, I didn't write these. I read them. No, Greg went last last time.
Right. I'm sorry. Okay. I just didn't want to cut in front of you.
When was the last time you got bucked off?
Not that long
remember
ago.
Who went last? Okay, when it comes to the future economic development in Cherry County, which of the 3 plans listed do you support, and which ones are you adamantly opposed to? Number 1 would be wind farms. Number 2 would be mass animal confinement, and number 3 would be tourism.
Do I have to rate all 3 in order? Is that what you're asking, or just pick one?
Which are you opposed to, and which do you support?
I think I support all of them. The least would be wind farms. I'm not thrilled at wind farms at all. I know this is a hot subject around here, and it's obvious why. But within the regulations, I've been to many Nebraska-wide county association seminars and stuff. And, one of the most popular things they'll say is, well, we'll just put setbacks in for 2 miles, and then they can't have wind farms. Well, you know what? That's against the law. And they say, well, other counties have done it. And I'm like, well, because other counties haven't challenged it. And the lawyers will tell you the same thing. The other thing that I'd say with being careful with setbacks, whether it be CAFOs, which is cattle confinement, or hogs or whatever else, is when you get into that setback game, a lot of times we're sitting here trying to protect the little guy. We think we'll protect the little guy with our planning and zoning, but you know what? You really just did, and especially in Cherry County, and this is important to remember, there's some very large ranches in here in this county that can handle a mile setback without thinking about it twice. And then you just gave all those ranches the ability to do it and nobody else. And that's something to think about when you're doing that. But tourism's important. I think it's a big thing. I wouldn't, with the right guidelines, certainly fine with agriculture. Agriculture's the number one thing in Cherry County, and we need to support that. But wind farms is the least of my support, for sure.
Okay, Shane?
Well, yeah, that got rid of the softball question for sure.
Right, it's baseball season.
Baseball season, I love it. Go Huskers. So very polarized issue within Cherry County. I support tourism 100%. As my grandfather was one of the first outfitters on the river to run canoes. We've got a great natural resource there and a great attraction to Cherry County. Been there for decades and still hope that goes. Least would be wind farms as well. I feel that it just would destroy our ecosystem getting them built. The infrastructure that it takes to get in and out of there, the roads to the wind farms, that's my least. Your CAFOs, your contained animal feeding operations, supporting ag. I mean, that's still ag. And so we got to be careful. Is there a fine line that if we start controlling these things, does that mean that now all of a sudden I don't like this? If you don't like the smell of hogs, so we're just going to take them away. We're just going to, you can't have them. Does that go into, well, I don't like the smell of cows, so now you can't have cows? That's a very fine line there. Me personally, do I want one? Do I want to live next to one? Absolutely not. But I can't sit here and, we're on one hand, we're talking about less government, less regulations, but yet then we're regulating everything that somebody wants to do on their property. So it's a catch-22 in my book, and you got to be really careful on what you do and how you do it.
Thank you. Greg?
He doesn't need that. He's got one.
Well, tourism is important in Cherry County, especially around Valentine with the river and up west on the river too. It's becoming more popular. The animal confinement, we have them here in the county. And one thing I can say about it, it's bringing some income into the county from the people that work there. And I talked to Leonard and Chris Danelski one day, and they asked me what's the two most important things people are concerned about. I said the smell of nitrates in the soil. And they've got deals set up to check the nitrates all the time out there by Kilgore and Crookston. The smell, it's not too bad. I don't care what you do. You ain't going to get rid of the smell from hogs or cattle. Wind turbines, I don't see no need for them. I don't think they bring any income into the county. I think it's just something that the landowners, they get some money from it. And places where I've been, they've got them. It makes the country ugly. And we don't need that in Cherry County and Sand Hills.
My follow-up, and I'd like all three of you, Martin, you can go first, just 30 seconds. Nowhere in this document, the Constitution of the United States, does it say the role of government is to create economic incentive for the state, county, or the federal government. Should we continue to do that at county government, state government, and federal government?
Well, I guess I think it's beneficial to the county if you would help them. I want to be in Cherry County. Let me be clear. I want to be open for business, and I don't want other people to think that we're not open for business. Are we obligated to do what you just said? No, but would it make it a better place? I think so.
Okay, thank you. Shane?
Yeah. Is it the role of the government to create economic opportunities for somebody? I'm going to say no. If I'm Cherry County Commissioner, that's probably going to be the least of my concern is that. There's plenty of people out there that want to build, can build, start businesses. We'll be there to support you once you come in, but my job as a commissioner to go out and find them to bring them back. Well, not as a commissioner, but we do have an economic development board already in place. So,
Okay, Greg?
I have to say no also. We start inviting the government in, the big government in, they're going to be here to stay, and we don't need them. Like Shane said, we have economic development board that invites people and businesses in to start and stuff. And that's what we need to start with to stay with. So.
All right, Shane, you're up first on this question. Cherry County is currently facing a severe nursing home problem. How would you suggest the county address and solve the problem?
well, I mean, that's a biblical standpoint as far as, we're supposed to take care of our elders. And so that's something that I don't specifically have a direct answer to how we go about doing that, but it is definitely one that I've talked about to various people in the room is to find solutions to help even if it's a 20-bed nursing home, to get back in Cherry County. I mean, we've had how many generations of Sandhills ranchers that have grown up here, and now they're elderly are now having to leave the county because we don't have a place for them. So going to have lots of research. Is that something that I'd be willing to spend some county dollars on to help get one in and stay running? Yeah, I think that would be, and I think it'd be a benefit for the taxpayers.
Greg?
We need to take care of our senior citizens. And like Shane said, a lot of them are leaving the county because there's no place for them here. And we need some place. We had two that shut down, and they were always full. And we need something to replace those so the seniors can stay here and the families can visit them here and not drive to Ainsworth or O'Neill or wherever. We need them here. I know I'd want my parents here. I wouldn't want to drive clear across the state to see them. And yeah, as a commissioner, I would be willing to support them and see what we can do as a commission.
Martin?
Kind of a funny, maybe not so funny story. I won't mention the names here, but a friend of mine whose father's getting elderly, he decided one morning that he couldn't put his socks on. And so he called him up there and, well, your mom's not here. I need my socks put on. And he's like, so I can get out there with you and do the things. And he's like, well, Dad, at this stage, you got to make a decision, because I'm not putting your socks on for you. So you can either go to Burwell and talk to ranchers for the rest of your life, or you can go to North Platte and talk to the farmers. So which do you want to do? Because those are the two closest nursing home type deal. He's like, Dad was out there in about 15 minutes with his shoes on. So, but that being set aside, when this nursing home was having its struggles, we definitely talked to them. My exception to the problem with feeding it money was it was a Good Samaritan nursing home. It's privately owned. If the county starts funding with tax dollars, your tax dollars, privately owned businesses in this town, or when does it stop? I mean, what's stopping the welding shop or whatever business to coming to us and saying, hey, we're not making it here. Could you float us some money? You know, I realize that's a little bit different, but so my suggestion is probably to work with the hospital. Could we build a wing onto that? Hopefully. I will also say that Kyle Augenbright and I think he's in this room. There he is. We've talked about it a little bit with the city and the county partnering on this, and that's in its very, very early stages. But there's a recognize that it needs done. We need to bring a nursing home back to this community.
Okay, new question, Greg. What do you consider the biggest problem facing the county now and in our near future?
The budget. That's the biggest problem. We got to maintain the budget, and we got to figure out some way to keep our budget without increasing the land taxes. That's what I think is the biggest problem right now, is the budget and working on property taxes.
How do you fix property tax? I have to ask that follow-up.
We got to work with the state government on the property tax and see what they can do. Or, you know, it's their job, but we have to kind of gouge them a little bit, maybe.
Martin?
As far as the budget goes, I'm not terribly.
The question is.
I know.
Okay.
I'm not terribly concerned with that as much, because the levy has stayed. In fact, it went down last year, but the budgets went from 4.1 to 4.6 in the 8 years I've been here, and that $500,000 is the change on that was the road bond that we have to make up. So there really hasn't been a lot of movement on that. As far as what's going on in the county that we need to address and work on, obviously it's the there's certain things that are, you know, the jail, the people that work here in this county, getting them up to snuff. We're losing county employees due to other employers being able to offer them better incentives. Like down in Mullen, in my southern road district, we're competing with Burlington Northern, and we're competing with Consolidated, and some of that with my county road crew. And it's hard. I mean, I can't compete with them. The only thing that I can do is say we've got an excellent benefit program, and you know what? We have flexible hours. And when was the last time you seen a Consolidated guy at his kid's basketball game? But we let you go. We've got great side things going on. We do have to figure out how to pay a little bit better without raising the budget and stuff like that. But I see just county board helping retain and maintaining good employees. And I think we have good employees right now. We just need to continue to maintain them.
As a follow-up related to what Greg answered my question, I did look at the mill levy. Cherry County is right in the middle. So
Yeah, it's
held its own.
it's at 0.19, and I'm not going to give you the next three figures behind it.
But a problem statewide, and in Cherry County, valuations on land leading to the amount of property tax we pay went up by 7%. That's a statewide problem, but 7% in Cherry County. That contributes to how much money we pay each year, the next year in property tax. How do we fix that?
I am not going to dispute that at all, because that's been there forever. I mean, as long as if you can hold the mill where it's at, you're still going to pay more in property taxes because valuation continues to go up. I mean, when Betty was the assessor, I testified for the Lincoln legislature with Turk, because they believe that Cherry County land valuation should be higher than the six-pack counties to the south of us, and by a considerable amount. Luckily, we did win that, and they did agree with us that apparently it's a hard argument to say that you're no better than the county south of you, because you think you are in the back of your mind, but that's not how it works. But we're going to have to keep track of that. But that's the assessor has to fight that too. I mean, the governor and the government states just how much you get. You've got to keep it between 69 and 75%, I think, Trent. And if you don't have your valuations up to where they want them, then the Turk board comes after you, and you know that, because they have us before. We fought them, we won. I'm not going to say that we're going to win every time.
Shane.
Yeah, keeping employees is one that we really need to work on. Obviously, we pay plenty in taxes. 2022, the county's ask was about 4.3 million. 2023 is 4.6. The levy is 0.193389. I'll add those numbers for you. 2024, it's almost 4.9 million with the valuation increase. So that's almost $700,000 more in taxes in 2 years. And so what have we gotten in the last 2 years out of that $700,000 increase? Yes, we have the road bond with the flood in 2019 that caused havoc with the roads. We got to do more with less. I mean, we keep getting up and up, and we're talking about holding the budget in check and keeping the taxes in line. Yeah, the levy is down 2% from a year ago, which is great. But again, like I said, the valuations went up enough. We went up a bunch of money. And so keeping that budget in check and finding where we can make some cuts here and there, it's going to be tough, but we got to keep that budget in check.
Martin. There's three questions that all tie into a follow-up to what we just discussed. So I'm going to combine those three, because what we see throughout all government, we talk about, and obviously Cherry County is a very conservative county, but we continue to talk about, Martin, and you mentioned just a modest increase. At some point, we have to spend less. And these three questions all pertain to what was coming up here. How do we spend less, and where do we make cuts to keep it functional?
I think one of the places that right off the bat that we are doing more with fewer employees, and we're able to do that by having better equipment and this and that. We have better employees. We've modified some of the jobs that we have. there for a while. We had to change the system because we had such a young set of foremen or inexperienced foremen on the road crew. I will say this, I don't want to make the announcement for him and this and that, but I know Doug said he's probably leaving us this year. He's the longest employee of Cherry County. He went to work for Cherry County right out of high school in the 1970s. So he's got 40 some odd years with us, and I just disappeared. Did you do that, Shane?
No, it was Doug making.
This would have been better if it was on
This
TV.
was Doug making you were making his announcement, so he got one
There
up
you go.
on you.
Anyway, our road crew are they're all up to snuff, and I think there's going to be some savings there. We'll just keep streamlining. We're doing more with less. We really are. So,
Shane.
Yeah, we've got to tighten the belt on that. There's we talk about the equipment. There's some stuff in there. We're doing more with less. Like, yeah, if Doug leaves that position, I would not look at refilling that. Go back to the commissioners taking care of their own road districts without the supervisor position. Is there a way we can share some equipment? I know we're spread out with a lot of miles and a lot of districts, but we've spent a lot of money. We've got good equipment, but is there some that we can get rid of and streamline a little bit would be where I would look first, Trent.
Greg?
Well, it's really hard to answer this without being behind the scenes like Martin there, but I agree we need to cut back somewhere, and they've already cut back on employees, trying to get the best employees they can find. And I agree with Shane, if Doug leaves, that'll be a position that I don't see that we need to fill. It's my feelings. Get a good foreman at each district and let them run it. They know what's going on. They're there all the time. Maybe you could pay them just a little bit more, you got to cut back somewhere. But how do I sit here and say it when I haven't been in the position? So.
All right, Shane, so this is an interesting question, and me being the very last person on the Custer County electric power line, I can relate to this question. Where do you stand on the last person on the road? In other words, now the county stops at the second to the last house instead of coming all the way down the road and leaving the last person out. Basically, it's how do you treat all people in the county equally?
Well, very polarized question considering where I live. Yeah, we want good services. We pay the taxes. I pay the same road taxes as the guy in the middle of the road as at the beginning of the road. So we've got to look, again, doing more with less. But I firmly believe that everybody deserves a good road. Everything that the rancher does, he buys feed, he buys fuel, he sells his calves, he buys groceries. Everything he does affects the local economy. And you're on the end of the road, well, tough pooey.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Mike.
yeah.
Mike and
I got that one. Tough pooey. You're out. And that is a policy that was implemented in the 90s with those commissioners, and that's a policy that I would definitely look to change.
Okay, Greg.
Well, where I live, there's a hill that goes down into the river canyon. We get that hill graded about once every 3 or 4 times. The county grades the main gravel roads, and this is a county road. And all county roads should be maintained the same. I don't care where you live. Now, our driveway is 2 miles long, and supposedly it's supposed to be a county road. I don't ask them to grade it. I do it myself. So I think they ought to just make sure that they treat all of them the same. Grade the hill, grade somebody else's road, to do them all the same.
Is there a possible rebuttal?
No.
Well, Trent, I live at the end of Custer Public Power. I live at the end of the Brownlee phone line. I live at the end of the Seneca Mail Route. But the road does go right by in front of my house and connects Brownlee to Seneca, so I'm not at the end of that. we sit here and talk about how we're going to cut things and do things. Um, a man that I admire quite a little is sitting right over there. And Mr. Ravenscroft, I think, was commissioner when probably that policy was set. I'm not sure, and I don't want everybody to quote me on that. But the reason that it was explained to me that they did that in the 90s was because come about March, they were out of money and they were in the red and they didn't have any way to pay their bills. And so that I will tell you right now, Cherry County's running in the black. We do have to pay that bond off, which is $500,000 a year until 29, but we're not in the red, and we haven't been for a long time. So I'm not sure. I do believe, and we do run. If you request once or twice a year, we will run a grader back to your house for you. But if we implement that policy back to the way it was again, you're going to just completely blow the last question we had. And that's you're going to start hiring more people. You're going to start buying more equipment, and your budget's going to go up. So have it one way or the other.
Which leads right into where we're going now, I think, and in a bit, I mean, in an incremental kind of a way. Obviously, we've talked about Cherry County. Greg, you're up first. You talked about the tourism benefit, and the way would argue that. You can tie wind into this. You can tie a lot of things where easements are included. And we know that in January, the national asset companies were potentially going to be traded on the New York Stock Exchange, where everybody who's ever signed an easement could have their property rights traded on the New York Stock Exchange. I learned today, adding to this question, that there's 130,000 school land acres in Cherry County, which, Martin can correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't benefit the county treasury at all, nor our school. So with all of this resource in the county that the county doesn't tap into, what's the answer there?
I really don't have an answer for that question.
Okay, Martin.
Yeah, I think it's above my pay grade. Do you have an answer for it, Trent? Because I'd
I'm
love
the
to sit here and
moderator.
listen to.
You guys are campaigning.
You know, I mean, no, I want to.
Look,
I want
I
to.
spent 6
Does
months
anybody else want to
campaigning.
hear what Trent has to say on this? Because I kind of do.
Did
You
hear
are
the part about
right.
no
I mean,
rebuttals?
yeah, no, they. I mean, we do get pilt money, which is ridiculous. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the fact they give us something, but it's not enough to tell anybody about. You know, it's not what the rest of the ranchers. It's not at the same rate everybody else is. So, and I to answer a hypothetical, which is I think where we're at on this one, I don't have a good answer for you, Trent. I don't. So.
Shane?
Can you, so you said the easements traded on the board, like, is this like a conservation easement question? Like
So
how I feel on conservation easements, or can you?
It is when you sign an easement, you're giving up your property rights because somebody else is telling what you can or can't do with your property. Now, in this era of climate mitigation, your easement can be traded by somebody else and someone else could control. I'll give you an example that is almost related. A gentleman called me from Kansas last week and he said, I need you to come down here because my neighbor signed a conservation easement with an entity. And I went to the courthouse and I looked, they've already filed a lien on his entire property. And then I found a loan in a bank of Missouri that they made on that easement. So if we continue to sign up and give away our rights in Cherry County, we'll have no ability to continue to pull the money into the pool to operate the county. I think that's the intent of the question.
Okay. Well, most people in this room know, and I'll put it out there. I've had a conservation easement on my ranch since 2005. In the 19 years that I've owned that, well, I didn't own it. I leased it the first 5, bought it in 10. So in the last 14 years that I've owned it, not one property right that I've wanted to do on my ranch has been taken away from me. So each conservation easement has a different set of, there's an overall general guideline for conservation easement, but each conservation easement varies. So my suggestion in that conservation easement, if you are looking in to get into one, you better know what every dotted I, cross T, period means in that, and know that it is for perpetuity. And so Are conservation easements bad? Maybe. Are they good? Maybe. They served Christy and I's purpose, because without that conservation easement, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair today. It gave me an opportunity, gave us an opportunity to build a legacy, and I'm grateful for that every day. So, do I want everybody's property rights if they sign an easement away? No, but they're the one that signed that contract, so they better know what's in it.
Excellent. What's your number one priority? You're first, aren't you?
In general, for the
Yes.
county?
What's your number one
Oh,
priority?
well, that's really vague,
As a
isn't it?
county commissioner, we
Okay.
should qualify
Yeah.
that.
By the way, did anybody enjoy the fact that I did get Trent to actually talk on that last subject? I mean, I did, didn't I?
There's a question on the floor.
The number one priority probably is just to continue to work. I think it's kind of getting repetitive here. For me personally, I don't, we'll continue to keep the budget low and taxes and this and that, but keeping the rule book this thick instead of this thick is a number one priority for me. I mean, we are regulated to death, and we have to knock it off. We have to stop that. We as good GOP Republicans have honestly forever been behind the fact that we don't regulate each other to death. And it seems to be that sometimes we lose track of that. So once again, I'll just say I'll continue to fight to make sure the rule book stays here and not here. Oh, by the way, that doesn't play very well on radio, does it?
No, you
No.
can't really tell.
No, I think you created the visual very well, Martin.
Well, yeah. Am I next, Trent? You didn't call on me.
Shane,
Oh, thank you. My number one goal for the county is to keep the spending in check. That's 100% of it. Yeah, I mean, we've got people that say, well, we don't want this, we don't want that, and that's regulation. So regulating the neighbor. We've got personal property rights that play a lot, and we have to tread that thin line of what I can do on my property that doesn't devalue my neighbor's property. And that's, we have a civil court. So I guess if something happens on my neighbor's place, then I think that it devalued my property. I guess I go to court. Is that what I want to do? No. So, like I said, keep the budget in check would be my number one. Communication with the public, transparency, and just being available, for comments, questions. If I can help in any way, if elected, that's where I want to be for the people.
Greg?
Try it again.
My number one priority is to do the best I can for the people that put me in office. They're the ones that deserve my 100% attention. Got to work on the budget and keep big government out. And you got to work with the public. My phone number will be available 24/7, 7 days a week.
So then I have a follow-up that I didn't generate, came here that would be part of that. And Martin, we'll start with you because you have the experience. If you have you'd represent the people who elected you. If you have something that's going to be on the agenda and you want to consult with somebody, how do you decide who to talk to?
Well, I guess that's a very wild, all over the board question. It depends on what the topic is. Obviously, as chairman, you take advice from your other commissioners as far as when you are setting the agenda, but it is at the end of the day, it is your end responsibility to set the agenda. So for what's going to happen. Just depending on the topic. I mean, if it's emergency management, I'm obviously going to reach out to the emergency manager. If it's and above and beyond, if we have to, or just whichever government official is closest enough to the topic. If we have a hospital topic coming up, I'm going to go talk to the hospital administrator, and see where that goes. I mean that I guess just stands to reason. So. I don't know where else to go with that one.
Shane?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a legality question, going to lean on the Cherry County attorney to keep us out of hot water if we're trying to do something that we should or shouldn't be doing. That'd be where I'd go. If it's a more public question and need to feel the pulse of the county, I'd lean on the Cherry County GOP committee to reach out to the Republicans in Cherry County and kind of get the tone and the feel for what they think should be going forward. And yeah, I mean, it's all over. I mean, that answer varies so much of what's on the agenda or what you want to talk about on the agenda. So it kind of varies, but I mean, legalities, Cherry County attorney, and if it's more public, the GOP.
Greg?
Well, first of all, depending on what the question is, but first I'd go to the other two commissioners and we could discuss it and see where we need to go from there. And from there, we can go to department heads or wherever the question is directed to, depending on the question. It's kind of hard to really say how you're going to handle something without knowing the question, but I would start with the other two commissioners.
All right, I only have one rapid fire question, so if you're gonna have a question that we'll wrap up this with a yes or a no, you raise your hand now, so it'll come and take your card or give you a card and fill it out. When we have one, we need at least three. All good things come in threes. But I do have one other question that's, completely unrelated to the topic. When it comes to green energy developments, talking about solar or wind turbine, how would you assess the proper setbacks, proper lines, industrial turbines, and I'm going to include transmission lines because that's obviously a topic of the day. Greg?
I guess I don't understand what you're asking as far as that
Are you going to
question.
handle green energy coming into Cherry County? What is going to be your protocol for saying, yes, this is a good idea for Cherry County, it's not? And that would be wind and solar, according to this paper.
Well, first of all, I have yet to see anything that is good for Cherry County when it comes to green energy because we don't live like that. I don't believe green energy is something that the government's using to control the people, I feel. Wind turbines and solar. The winters we have with ice and snow, like Texas a couple years ago, they had the ice, snow, and wind turbines or solar never done a thing for them. They'd all shut down. So I guess it just depends on how bad people want it.
Martin?
First of all, I'll say that green energy isn't green. I think we all know that. All energy has some form of a footprint on it, whether you like it or not. I think you have to walk the fine line with what's legal and what the Supreme Court has said. You can make restrictions as tough as you possibly can, and I think you should. For sure, because it's not something that I think as a whole we really want out here. And if you write your restrictions properly, it kind of gives them the message that you're probably not welcome here. But by the same token, we've seen it, we all have, we know it, and the Supreme Court's ruled on it. You cannot take a legal business and outlaw it from your county or from your state. If it's a legal business, you cannot write the restrictions so harsh that they cannot operate. So, and if you do that, you will lose. So I guess I would just say that we have some of the toughest restrictions here in Cherry County. Kudos, congratulations. I think our planning and zoning board did a good job with that. So I guess that's where I stand. I mean, we can make it just as tough as we legally can, and that's about where it ends.
Shane?
Well, yeah, I'm glad we have those tough guidelines in our planning and zoning. The thing, maybe the more direct answer to your question is, and I know another county has done it, but to maybe make it not as pleasing to come in, it would be maybe a huge number, $15-20 million in the Cherry County bank account that we have access to that as a setback. Like if you want to come in with wind turbines, you put $15 million in our checking account or in our bank account, and we get access to that interest to grow our county with that. And that way, if they come in, they build, and then 15 years down the road, they blow by and they leave, we have that access to that funds and growing funds with interest rates that we can decommission or do whatever. So, somebody says you can, you got to put $15 million to the wind turbine company to come in to do this. That might be, I don't know if I want to do that here. So I'd look into that. I know other counties have done that in Nebraska as far as a deterrent, not as necessarily a deterrent, but access to funds to decommission them if they need to.
Greg? Oh, you already
He
did
started
that.
that
Yeah,
one.
you started that one. Keep track of what you're doing, Trent. See, I chewed myself out.
No,
just
no
as well.
judgment, no judgment.
Yeah, okay. All right. So these are not yes and no questions you're garnering here for me. There is a rapid fire question. I like this question, though. This is a really good one. And we're going to start with Martin because you have the experience. So the entities that receive monies from the county, you actually follow up to see that they spend that money appropriately.
You said this isn't a yes or no.
No, this is not a yes or no.
Okay. Say the question again, please.
If you give money to entities within the county, do you follow up to ensure they're spending that money as you thought they were?
Yeah, you basically have to. I mean, we don't really give that much money to entities in the county. Occasionally it will happen. There's grants that have been written, like Niobrara Vineyard and stuff, that went through the county because it has to, but that wasn't really our money. That was just money that cycled through. It had to go through our accounts and stuff. There is, we have the ARPA funds going on right now. We got about $400,000 still left in ARPA. That has to be, of course, that's American Rescue Plan. I think we got around 700 to begin with. At first, we were scared to spend it because there are so many regulations on it, but now they've lessened them a bunch. That money does have to be allocated by the end of 24, and it has to be spent by 26. The only thing I know that's left on it that you can't do is you can't pay off debt that's already there. So they're asking you to please spend it on something new, to generate and this and that. We also have LATCF money. That's kind of a equivalent of PILT. Only the difference is you don't know when you're going to get that. And I would say that's kind of Indian money, if you know what I mean. But there's about $380,000 in that. You don't have a lot of restrictions on that or really a time limit on that. And then we also have inheritance fund money that we do allocate to people, but that's usually spent on one-offs like a sheriff's vehicle or something like that. But like the other day, we had the opportunity to give Joseph was in, and so we did spend $50,000 or gave $50,000, and hopefully the city will match it to start a daycare in the Episcopal Church basement for 30 kids. We'll definitely follow up on that, make sure it happens. I mean, there's securities in there that make sure it happens. I mean, they'll have to sign off their interlocal with the Episcopal Church and stuff like that. But I'm really proud when we can spend money like that and help the community. But yeah, it gets followed up on.
Shane?
Well, I mean, the direct answer is yes. That's just being a good steward of the taxpayers' dollars. Is if you allocate money to other entities, then you definitely need to make sure that they're spent in the proper ways. They follow the guidelines that you set forth before they receive said funds.
Good. Greg?
Yes, you have to keep track of the money that you've given out like that. If you don't, then you're not maintaining your budget proper.
I would just add that's why I have 3 entrances to my pasture. I take my banker out from 3 different directions and have 3 times the number of cows. So that's how that works for me. Okay, I have one more question that if you could just answer in like 1 minute or less, because I don't think it's going to take any one of you long. And then we have a few rapid fire questions. How do you feel about foreign ownership of land in Cherry County? And how do you stop it? That's assuming you're going to say you want to stop it with the last part of that question. Shane?
I feel that I feel that no, I don't want foreign ownership in Cherry County. again, how do you stop it? That's more government regulations, which we've been talking all night that we want less of. So it's a catch-22, a double-edged sword, whatever you want to say there. But my personal feeling is that I don't want a bunch of foreign companies owning land.
Okay, Greg.
No, I wouldn't be in favor at all.
Martin.
Easy, quick answer. Of course, we don't want foreign ownership in Cherry County. It is hard to keep outside ownership from being in here. It's been tried over the years. This is probably something a county commissioner is way above him. I think the legislature is who you need to talk to on getting that stopped.
Excellent. All right, I have, looks like 5 yes or no questions. Martin, go first. Are you in favor of zoning? Maybe is not an answer.
Yes.
Shane?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Can you add more roads, Shane, you first. Can you add more roads and keep the expenses the same? I should modify that. Add or maintain more roads and keep the expenses the same.
Yes.
Greg?
Yes and no.
Where's the gong?
Yeah, you just got gonged, buddy.
Well, you got to, talking about the budget stuff, you start.
Yes or no means like yes or
Yeah.
no.
No.
Thank you.
Okay.
No.
Do you favor conservation easements? Greg?
No.
Martin?
No.
Shane?
Yeah.
It's a yes or no question. Yeah, it's not on the list.
Yes.
Now you can slap me. Rapid fire question. Do you believe emergency medical services, ambulance, EMTs, should be legislatively funded? Yeah, it's you.
No.
All right, let me qualify this. Legislative funded almost to me sounds like a state or a federal payment as opposed to a county payment. So we're going to have you answer that question. Should it be funded with somebody other than the county? I think it's a little vague.
Yeah, I want to expand on that.
Yes or no?
Yes.
So you want them to control you? You can't answer. Go ahead.
Yeah. Who wrote these? Good questions. Very, very good questions. Should EMT be? Yes.
Greg?
Will yes and no work again?
Well, at least you'd be consistent.
No.
All right, the final rapid fire question. What are your thoughts about expanding the number of commissioners to 5? And it's Shane.
Yes or no question, right?
Yes or no?
These would be great to expand on.
I know, but that clock says we're not going to.
That says commissioners to 5. Yeah. Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Thank you. You're a good learner. Great.
Yes.
No.
I'm going to give each one of you 30 seconds. Why should we vote for you? You're first.
Okay. You should vote for me because I am definitely the most experienced candidate. But you know what? Everybody's new once, so that's okay too. But we do have a relatively inexperienced board right now. I think they're doing a great job. I really commend Mike and Nina. I really do. But I think we need to keep on with my experience, and I also stress that I am the one candidate that is probably the most conservative in the sense that I am definitely against regulation.
You're done.
I'm asking for your vote for leadership skills. I want to be communicative, be there for the people, transparency in the office, and really work to keep the budget in check and still have the great services that are known to Cherry County.
Greg?
I want you to vote for me because I will work with the people of the county. That's what you're putting me in there for. And I want to help maintain the budget and keep equipment like we've got, keep our employees employed, get better and more employees, and just work with the public.
I think we owe them a round of applause. A fantastic job. Are you taking over? Okay. All right.
Thank you so much, Shane and Martin and Greg, for joining us for this candidate forum. Appreciate your answers, and I hope the public will be able to follow up on some of the questions that were just yes or no. So anyhow, we're going to take a 10-minute break. There are goodies in the back. You can use the restrooms. We can get set up for the Valentine School Board. Thank you all for coming, for the commissioners, and I hope many of you will stay for the Valentine School Board. Thank you.
Here it is.
I touched it.
You got the touch.
Okay, I think we're back. All right. We got our moderator. We've got 6 school board members here. I'm not on.
You were on.
I was on? Oh, I am on. Okay. Okay, if we can have quiet now, please. The rowdy ones. Quiet. Thank you.
We don't
Okay.
share well. This is a problem.
All right, I think we're ready. Okay, now for the Valentine School Board, we have the 6 of the 7 school board members here. Now, thank you guys for coming, and I'll go ahead and turn it back over to our moderator, and he will give you some of the house rules.
So you guys will share. Now I got too many cords. Sorry, Shane, I wasn't done with my little snack yet. We're about there. All right. Yeah, everybody stuck around even though they watched the first part. That's good news. I got to tell a little story. Jim kind of inspired me to be a better storyteller. That's scary in many ways. I was reminded of this story yesterday, and I think it's pretty appropriate for where we're at today. Today not in Cherry County. Well, yes, in Cherry County, but in the world and what's going on. But I was speaking in Grass Valley, California one day. And for those that may not know, like Truckee, Nevada, and Reno, you go north up in there, and there's some just great. It's nothing like the rest of California. That part of California is just gorgeous, and those folks would fit in this room, and we'd fit in there. And it's fantastic. And I met this 82-year-old man, Gino. And Gino was telling me the funniest story. He said he remembered the first time that he had this new car. He had a Model T. And he had this girl that he was trying to impress. And so he thought, I'm going to take my Model T out there. And, she'll be impressed because we're not harnessing horses and going through all that stuff to get going. And he goes down the road. He normally goes down along a fence, and he gets halfway down the road, and he got stuck. Well, this girl apparently wasn't real resilient. But anyway, she wasn't from Cherry County, clearly. She just was throwing a fit and just, why did you bring this car? We should have brought the horses. We'd be there. Everything would be good. And he said, I just turned to her and I said, honey, we're here now. We're just going to figure it out. I got a big life lesson in that. We're here now. We're just going to figure it out. Because we can just stand and talk about all the problems that we got all over the world and all the problems we got here. But we're here now. And we're going to figure it out. So, and nobody came to hear me speak. They came to hear you running for the school board. Here will be the protocol. We'll have a 1.5-minute introduction. We'll start on the far west end, but over by Cody Ninzel. That was just a pun. That didn't really mean anything. Is Cody that way? I don't think so. Which way is the North Star? Okay, you go over there and find it. We're going to do a 1.5 to 2 minute introduction. Well, actually, I'm going to go on my sheet. Okay, Shane's right here on my sheet. So 1.5 to 2 minutes. I'll have everybody. We'll start with Shane. Go this way. We'll start here. We'll go this way, and we're then going to answer the questions in 90 seconds. And we'll have a lightning round, assuming we motivate the crowd to send us a yes or no questions. Shane Keim, you want to start?
Sure. I'm Shane Keim, third generation rancher. My dad went through his years in this district. The districts have changed from Class 6 to K1 and that, but basically in the district. And he went to Curtis then, and that's where he graduated high school from, but basically he spent his whole time in this district. I graduated and I went all my years in this district, graduated in 1988, and now I have 2 kids in this district. And I'm currently serving my second term on the Valentine Community Schools. And one thing I want everybody to really remember, that it is a board, and it takes all of us to work together. And I feel that we have good people in place now, and I think that our school's in a good place. We don't have debt. We have bills to pay, but we're not in debt. And we've done a very good job of taking care of our district, taking care of the kids in our district, especially. That's the number one thing, is education. And somebody forgets that quite often. I think some things take priority over education in our district. And I just want you all to know that my number one priority is education. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Byron Burdick.
Okay. Hi, I'd like to thank all of you for coming. I'd really like to thank KBSH for stepping up and carrying this. They have spread it out so more people could reach us tonight. So thanks, Mike. For you that don't know, I'm Byron Burdick. I have a bachelor's degree in education. My wife, Julia, has taught in the Valentine school system for 18 years now. We have 4 children, Trevor, Bailey, Robert, and Arthur. All 4 are now in the Valentine school system. Shane took mine 3rd generation, so I won't say that. I'm a Cherry County landowner and taxpayer. I feel I can handle most issues as they come about. I try to always be involved in our community. I am on the fair board. I'm a volunteer fireman. And I just feel that there will be a lot of things presented to the school board that we're seeing on each coast, and they're going to try to push them here, whether we want them here or not. And we're going to be able to decide what our kids get to have put in front of them. So I guess that's why I'm running, is I want to be there for the children and for you. My phone number's in the phone book, and my cell phone's on Facebook, I'm sure. So I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. Thank you.
Byron, we still have phone books, do we?
When you live where we do, you do.
Tyler Eggert.
Hi, my name's Tyler Eggert. I was born and raised here in Valentine. I went through the school system here. I think it's one of the best school systems there is. I moved away after I graduated, went up to Lincoln for about 10 years, where I went to school, got a good job, and got the privilege to work in a bunch of schools up in Lincoln and Omaha. And after working in those schools with those kids in the school system, I knew I wanted to raise my kids back here. It's a total different system. And we ought to be proud of what we have here. And I think we need to keep it that way.
James Ward.
No, most of you know me. I'm James Ward. I'm asking for your vote for Valentine School District. I grew up here in Cherry County. I'm 6th generation, Cherry County. Had some great grandparents that moved up here before it was a county. I have 4 children that are in the school system, 4th grade to junior in high school right now. I have one agenda item. I want to keep our school great. Okay, we have one opportunity at these kids. We've got to take that opportunity. We've got to provide good role models, and we've got to have board members that have the foresight to look forward. I graduated in 1993. I left the county. I was away for about 20 years. I did a lot of other things. During that time, I got a degree in construction management. I also got a law degree. I'm currently a licensed attorney in the state of Nebraska. I don't practice because I have a very successful plumbing business with my brother. I also worked over 20 years in law enforcement as a reserve deputy. Recently retired due to an eye injury. I kind of lost my depth perception, and it just not really feasible to continue doing that kind of stuff. Those are the things I can bring to the table. I've built a school. I've built multi-million-dollar projects. I understand how to budget. I'm a proven conservative. I spent 4 years holding a budget in line, lowering or holding the tax ask at what it was. And that's not easy. It's about understanding the value of money. It's understanding that you're spending other people's money. It takes a strong will to push back on what is right, not just what's popular.
Okay, Lindy Elliott.
Hi, I'm Lindy Elliott, and I'm married to Matt, and we have 4 girls. My oldest is going to go into school this fall, and I just wanted to become more involved, and this is my way of being involved, and yeah, that's pretty much all I have.
Joe Hand.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to be here. My name is Jo Hand, and I have been serving on the school board for the last 3 years, going on 4. I've learned a lot, and I am still learning. My husband Tim and I have lived in this area our whole lives. We've raised our 6 children here, and I guess that's probably why I have an interest in giving back to the community. I feel the schools here in Valentine did a great job of helping us prepare our children to go out and make a difference in this world. I want to help be a voice of common sense on our school board. I want to make sure we have the best administration, teachers, and staff to prepare our children for their future because they are our future. Thank you.
While you're standing, Joe, why don't you just kick this off? 2 questions that are all built into the same vein, so we'll just start with that. Do you think that the taxpayers can afford another gym? We have 3 in town already. Is it wise to partner with the city on a gym? Realizing they're 2 different taxing entities, and basically the questions are, how much money can we spend on those items?
Those are all very questionable. I mean, there's nothing been set in stone. I don't feel we need to tax the taxpayers anymore. We have 3 gyms. I know how much it costs to take care of the facilities we got. It takes a lot of money. I think, I don't know. I'm just thinking until we see figures and I know how the budget works, right now, I don't know if we could afford it.
Okay, Wendy?
Do I have to stand?
No, you don't have to stand.
Okay, I'm not gonna stand. I would like to see more numbers, I guess. I am a numbers person. As some of you have known, I have worked at the bank, so I kind of like numbers. But I haven't seen anything with the budget. I am so new to this, so I am very fresh, I guess you could say. So without seeing like previous numbers and without doing my research, I don't want to say something that sounds silly. So I would
Maybe
like
hold
to
the microphone a little closer.
do a little more research.
We want to hear you if you sound
before-
silly, Lindley.
I know. Okay.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, I would just rather do some more research before I can speak like true from my heart before I comment on that.
All right, James.
Would you mind repeating that question just so everybody out there has it real clear?
The question is, do you think that the taxpayers can afford another gym? We have 3 in town. Should we partner with the city? Is that wise because they're 2 separate taxing entities?
Well, your first hurdle in there is you have 2 separate taxing entities, and commingling of funds, you're basically using one tax entity to fund something for another tax entity, and that's not quite legal in Nebraska. The second thing about that is we're the school district, okay? The primary is education of the kids. That's the goal. So is it the school that needs the gym, or is it the community that needs the gym? If it's the community that needs the gym, then that's the city. That's a city issue. That's not something that the school should be going in and building another gym and dumping all of our resources into. Right now, the Valentine School District is one of the largest taxing entities in Cherry County. It all comes down to, what do you want the taxes to be, and does it actually represent or support the kids? When I graduated, we had the middle school gym and the high school gym. The high school gym was the gym because the middle school gym was the brick floor. We now have a whole gym on the middle school. We have more gym space than there was when I graduated in 1993. We have fewer kids going to our school. That's what we need to be asking ourselves.
Okay, thank you. I forgot to mention we were going to do this in 90 seconds, so everybody's got 2 minutes because And Mr. Attorney took extra time.
Sorry.
You didn't know. I'm not holding you accountable. You didn't know. Shane?
I think the one thing you want to think about is there's needs and there's wants in a school district. And the first thing we have to do is take care of the needs. That's education. It's making sure that our non-certified or certified staff is taken care of, all those. And then when that is all taken care of, when you have some left over, then you can start looking at the wants. And right now, the taxpayer is the one that has the need. They need some break. And we've been taxed really hard. We've been fortunate that we haven't asked the taxpayers in 2021 and 2022, 22 and 23. We asked, our tax request was exactly the same. And we had, basically 3% is pretty close to what our raise is with the teachers. And so we've been able to stay under inflation and do that and ask for the same tax request. And to build a gym, there's bond issues, there's all those things, but it will still come back on the taxpayer. You have to maintain those, you have to do all that. So we're up.
I was giving him 30 that Mr. Award took.
See, I'm not the only long-winded one.
Might go. I would say no. I mean, I can't vote for it right now. I agree. Education is the number one thing. The city wants it. Everybody's answered that. The commissioners all sat here last hour and said they were going to cut the budget. How are we, the school board, going to say we're going to vote for you and then go to them and say, we need more money? Raise yours so you can give us more money. The landowner and city, I mean, everybody pays for it. And I admit there are things we can improve. I think we need to have scheduling. I don't know how we go about that, but we need to work together more to have that.
Thank you, Byron. Tyler?
The answer is no. The school does not need to be buying a new gym. We had 3. When I was growing up, we had 2. I think it is a scheduling issue. I don't think you can justify asking the taxpayers to pay more money for something that's not needed. No, I shouldn't say not needed. Not needed by the school. In the school, we don't know what's going to happen here with the legislature. We got LB 388 going on right now. That could eliminate up to $900,000 worth of money the school gets. So I just don't think it's a affordable issue right now.
Okay. Tyler, while you have it, you're going to be first on the next question. We're going to get right at it now. Nebraska Library Commission has listed over 110 books that are on the shelves in Nebraska schools that many, if not all, parents are not in favor of. They're directly opposed to. Subjects such as queer history, the theory of for young people to be transgender, and couple things with explicit directives are on library shelves. Are you in support of this type of material in the library and having kids with access to this at the Valentine school system?
No. And I believe that this was a big issue last year. And I'm pretty sure there was a committee set up, and I believe that committee went through every book that they had an issue with.
The committee was set up by a school board?
I believe so.
Okay. Byron, are you done? Okay.
Okay. This one is what I guess I was directing at in my opening comments. No. I have no problem saying no. Anna Griffith said it best on Mayberry that if you give a child a shiny object, he's going to grab the first shiny thing he can. And it's our job to present what we know is better for him. children is developing. It's our job to allow the teachers to develop them to the best of their ability, to support the teachers and the curriculum, but yet keep our children safe from things that they can find out all they want as soon as they graduate from Valentine High School.
Well,
Shane.
obviously, those books, absolutely not. They have no place in our, and yes, there was a panel set up. Some of it was from parents, some of it was school board members, some of it, and it was not done by the school board. It was done by the admin at the Valentine School. And they went through those books and they all evaluated them, and then they reported back and did what was appropriate with each book. But no, that stuff absolutely has no place in our education system.
You're good with that over there. James?
Absolutely. They have no place in our education system. I think everybody can agree on that. What we need to be looking at is how did they get there in the first place? Okay. I think we need board members that are willing to ask some questions and the tough questions of, are we injecting someone's political ideologies into front of our kids? They've got a book on queer out there, but nobody's got the Bible up front. Things like that. We can't go out and explicitly just start banning books, because then it becomes your idea of what's wrong and what your idea is what's wrong. But do we need to be throwing that stuff in front of these kids' face? Absolutely not. Why are we buying those books and putting them in the library in the first place? I mean, we wouldn't do that with anything else. We wouldn't take, pornography and throw it on the shelf for the kids to read. Why are we allowing it because somebody wrote it and it says they're an author to put that into the school system? I mean, there should be some checks and balances, and there should be some accountability. And I don't see that happening. I don't see there being accountability for who's making those decisions, just allowing that to transpire.
Good job, James. You got there. Time-wise, I wasn't talking about your statement. Lindy?
No, I don't agree with books like that either. I think they need to be educational, and our kids are they absorb everything. They learn so quickly, and they don't need to be learning things like that in such a tender time in their life. So,
Joe?
I agree. They absolutely don't belong in our schools. Being on the secretary of the board right now, I can tell you I initial all the claims they go through every month. And I look through and I see all the books that they're ordering for their school libraries. And if I have questioned a title on, if it sounds suspicious, I'll get on the internet and I will Google that book and I will look through it and make sure it's not got any of that unnecessary stuff in it that our young people need not to look at.
So I have my own follow-up with that, Joe, and you can start and we'll go back this way. As a board member, how do you monitor what's available to the students? And I'm going to take it beyond just monitor what's in the library, but you have parents that come to you and complain, because I know that would never happen. But let's just theoretically say parents come to you and complain about a teacher or a coach or some personnel matter, something happening in the school. Where is your responsibility as a board member to pursue that, but yet not overstep the authority and the responsibility of your administration?
Well, the first thing we have to do is tell that parent to go to the person that they have the problem with, whether it be a teacher, a coach, or whatever. We start there. And if that doesn't get resolved there, then they go to the principal of the school. And if they don't get it resolved there, then it goes to the superintendent. And we are the last. The board is the last place to resolve a problem, which it usually gets resolved within the school system with the administration.
Lindy?
can you ask the question again?
How do you be a
Yep.
diligent board member without overstepping the authority and responsibility of the administration that's
Right.
hired to take care of these things?
It's important to be an open ear for the public, to be open enough for them to come to you. But as Joe said, they need to follow the chain of command, so to speak, before it gets to where you can do anything like by yourself.
James.
I've had a situation when my daughter was, I think, in the second grade. There's policies and procedures up there at that school for everything. Sometimes going to the individual teacher is not a good idea. I'm just going to say it that way. I went to administration, and I felt that the administration doesn't hold that teacher accountable for the actions that they took. And that's where the board needs to be aware of the stuff. There needs to be reporting to the board. The board isn't responsible to hire and fire and terminate teachers. That's administration's issue. But the administrators, they're responsible to the board. That superintendent is responsible to the board. And the board needs to ask the tough questions. The board needs to be open to the public. And if it needs to come from the top down that there's an issue, the board needs to take that information, go to the superintendent, and then see what was done about it. And actually have follow-up and follow up on the issues. And be there for the public and be there for the students. We have students that don't think they can reach out.
Shane.
Well, first of all, I agree with Joe. There is a protocol, and I think that the person, the teacher, the whatever, that's the first place to start, and then just then you go to the admin, the superintendent, and it has to be on the agenda for the board to address it, for one thing. And I think it's real important that we follow protocol because there's 6 members on this board. And if everyone wants to answer everybody and we don't take the public lightly, we listen to what they have to say. But if every board member were to give one person a different answer, I think you're asking for a train wreck. So I believe that you need to follow the protocol, and if it gets on the agenda, then the board will address it.
It can be on the agenda, you just can't take action on it unless it's on the agenda.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking there.
I wasn't asking.
Oh, well, I mean, but yes, it has to get on the agenda before the board can take action.
But you can have a discussion.
Okay.
Byron.
I would say, agree with Shane and Joe, but I also would say I'm always there to talk. I'm always there to bounce ideas off of. I have students in the school. I will listen. I will be the parent that gives my feedback of what I might do in that situation. I will talk to other board members before the board meeting or something. But we have a great administration. Our school is very good. There may be weak links there, but they are very good. Use them. But again, I would listen and give my feedback to you on suggestions of how I could either help you handle it or how you could handle it before it gets to the board.
Tyler?
There is a protocol you have to follow, and it needs to be followed. That being said, I don't think I would have a problem calling an administrator and saying, hey, what's going on? Just having a conversation with them. I think you got to have that open communication. Whether it's your job it's not your job as a board member to fix it until it gets to you, but have that conversation.
Okay, Tyler, you're up first. Would you eliminate school handbook? Parents should not have to sign their constitutional rights away and their child's rights away simply to attend school.
No. You've got to have rules. You can't. Now, can some things be overdone? Yes, absolutely. But you've got to have a basic set of rules to be followed.
Byron?
No, I would not eliminate the handbook. Can we go through it together as a board again? I'm sure they do every year. I don't know. But the superintendent, I mean, if you have an issue with the handbook, bring that issue to me. The whole handbook, I don't believe you can have the issue with. If there's something that you don't like, let's talk about that. But no, pretty basic. For students, we go through it every year. It hasn't changed since Trevor started 9 years ago, really. So I don't think it's getting any bigger. It hasn't got any smaller, but I'm not bound to it, I guess. So no, I mean, I guess you are bound to it. That was not what I meant to say at all, but that was bad. But it is, no, I wouldn't do away with it.
No, you can't. You can't do away with the handbook because the kids at school. I mean, they have to know what the regulations are. They have to read it, and supposedly you've read it when you sign off on it. And so if you won't sign off of it, then you have to bring it, and it has to be addressed after that. But there's no way you can't tell a kid that he can't do this specific thing in school when you don't have any guidelines to tell him what that specific thing is. So, no.
James?
I thought you said so they didn't have to waive their constitutional rights. Is that what?
That's what the question was.
Yeah. So handbook, yes. Handbook is a very good thing. It's two-sided. One, it provides information for the teachers and the rules they have to follow. It also provides the rules for the students. Okay, there are rules in there that the students can hold the teachers to. Do I think it should be modified if it requires you to waive your constitutional rights to attend a public school? Absolutely. There is no reason that we should be telling kids that you have a right and you need to read the Constitution, you need to understand this, you need to understand the rights of this republic and the things that you have. But guess what? They don't apply to you.
Randy?
Okay, pretty much what everybody else said too. But the handbook is important. Everybody needs to be on the same page with rules, regulations, things like that. But as far as, I mean, I haven't read a school handbook for a very long time. I've been out of school for a while. So I would like to read one here soon and to see what they say now. But if there is something that is questionable or something that a parent doesn't agree with or a student themselves, it is important to take it before they sign it off. So,
Joe?
Yes, we absolutely need a handbook, and I think everybody will agree with me that we live in a world where disciplinary issues are kind of extensive in some locations. We haven't had that issue here to an extreme, but the rule book just gives you a guideline of rules, and that's where you follow the protocol. If somebody has an issue with the rules, then you just go to the administration and discuss it with them.
Okay, Joe, while you have it, 15 minutes are not enough for morning breakfast, and noon lunch proportions are not adequate to fill the needs of the kids. What are the solutions?
Well, we need to talk to I can't even think of the name of the place, Lunchtime Solutions, yes. And I think we addressed that at the last board meeting, that they're going to work on getting more things in the lunch menu. What did you say about 15 minutes?
For breakfast is not enough time.
Then they need to get there earlier.
Isn't that a lot like saying cut an hour off at the beginning of the day, put it at the end of the day, and you got a longer day?
Yeah. I don't know. I just think the kids need to, 15 minutes is not enough time to eat breakfast. I don't agree with that if they're at the school.
Okay, Lindy?
is it not enough time because the lunch line or the breakfast line is too long? Or like, I feel like there's more meat to this question.
That's the problem, Wendy. There's no meat in the morning breakfast problem.
Is a problem
And that
too.
is what we need a solution to.
Protein is very important for your nutrition and to stay full. Yeah, so that is something to look at to see how fast they can get through there. Because if they are there at a decent time, but there's a long line, and then the kids have 5 minutes to eat now, that could be an issue. So I guess getting there sooner would be one thing. And as for what was the second half of that?
Do the kids
Not-
get enough adequate nutrition at
Okay.
noon?
Yeah, not enough on their plates. I would have to look at that too and just see how much, or like the portion sizes, because that makes a huge difference too on, is this on? Yes, okay. On what they are eating, as far as like proteins, carbs, veggies, things like that, because that will help, like depending on what they eat, will keep them fuller longer. So it's something to look at.
Okay, James.
The 15 minutes in the morning isn't enough time. I already take my children to school at 7:30. At 7:30, my kids are out of the house, and usually I'm dropping off my sixth grader at the middle school, so she has time to go try to eat breakfast. The lunches are, I don't know, ask the kids what they think of them. It's not real great stellar reviews from my house anyway. When they run out of a lunch, this happened a few years ago, when they run out of lunch, well, we just go to the freezer and we get out Uncrustables. So I had, my kids had Uncrustables one day when they were in elementary school because we ran out, we miscounted. I don't know how that happens, but it did. I think there needs to be some real accountability in the lunch program. We have a cost that we have to address though. I mean, there are school districts that provide free lunches to everybody. We have a tremendous amount of kids on the free and reduced lunch program here. I think a lot more than probably need to be. But we can't be sitting there and providing free lunches, but we need to provide adequate lunches. And that's where the school system has got to look in. If you're not willing to go sit down and eat the lunch with the kids, what are you doing? I mean, these kids, when you get to high school, my freshman son, that kid could eat 4 lunches and he still wouldn't be full, but you have to supplement them as a parent to a certain extent, but you can't, it's just it's a nature of the beast. I didn't like school lunches when I was a kid either, but we have to review them, and we have to have good, adequate lunches.
Okay, James, just as a note to everybody, because we don't have an ideal situation, when you fiddle with the buttons and you push one of these, you mute yourself for a little while.
We'll try not to
So
do
maybe lay it on the table. Shane.
Well, my kids go to the country school and they eat lunch or they eat breakfast before they go, and that's kind of the protocol for that. And I guess I feel 15 minutes is enough. I don't know about the lines. That's probably something that if there is lines, it needs to be addressed. But in my opinion, 15 minutes is enough. And as far as the nutrition, I mean, there's people that look at that, and yes, if you have a 250-pound kid, it might not be enough. But if you have some kids that are smaller, whatever, and they're leaving half of it on their plate, that is also an issue. And so we have dealt with lunchtime solutions, and they're working on more menus. And they're given choices. I mean, when I went through here, Valentine, we didn't have a choice. You had a choice. You could have a chef salad or what was on the menu. And now there's several different choices they have, and I think that is adequate.
Myron.
Okay, I think this was a personal attack, probably. I don't know why. But Lunchtime Solutions is not personal to me, but to the school. Lunchtime Solutions is who we're contracted with. They control the lunch. 15 minutes. If your student isn't done, the way I understand is they can ask for more time. They don't tell them to get out of the lunchroom because they're not done eating. So I believe that you can get more time to eat. I also believe the lunches, I had a kid that weighed 138, and in 2 weeks he weighed 165, and he didn't eat anything but school lunch. So we cut for wrestling, but they have full salad bar, all you can eat. Does it check out of my account or his account that we're paying for? Yes. But to say that you're not getting enough to eat at the school, that is on your student for not going back and getting more. the school has done really good. We have local ranchers that will donate beef to the school, and that really helps out. I mean, people have a lot of complaints they want to put on somebody else, but we all are guilty. And I think that our school is doing good with their lunches. I mean, you can go to other ones that they probably are worse, but I'm going to stand up for the school lunches. There can be improvement, but they're doing pretty good.
Tyler?
Is 15 minutes enough? I would say yes if you're sitting there eating and not being a kid goofing off. But that isn't going to happen all the time. They're kids. As far as having enough to eat, I have a freshman also who I believe has doubles almost every day. But I also have an 8th grade girl that probably doesn't finish her plate. So I know my boy, he's getting enough to eat because he's getting doubles. So I think it's kind of up to the student.
Tyler, what is the role of the school district in childhood education? And do you support or oppose the creation of a preschool at the Valentine School District?
Don't we have a preschool? Federal. That's in there. I don't know what the numbers are, I guess, as far as what the federal's using. It's been so long since my kids have been in preschool. I don't even know what do we have as far as private preschools. It's something to look into.
Byron?
Please repeat the question.
What do you feel the role of the school district is in childhood education? And did you support or oppose the creation, which wouldn't apply to you, of the Valentine preschool program? So what do you feel the role of the school district is for childhood education? Early childhood education, I apologize.
Okay, this one I believe is very important. There are studies that show the sooner that you can get a child into learning, the better it is. We can prove it with ours. I have a preschooler right now. Arthur is bright, witty. He knows his numbers. He can count great. Our preschool that they have in there now is a phenomenal preschool. I don't know why it was put in. I'm assuming it's because we didn't have it to offer, just like the daycare they're putting in town. The students, we needed it. We have one private one that I know of. Zion, unfortunately, I think closed. We have one, Grace, is still open. I might have said them backwards, but the school took private. You have to pay for. Not every student is going to be able to pay for a private preschool. So Valentine Elementary adjusted. They moved a grade to the middle school, and they allowed the preschool to come in. And I'm all for early childhood development for the children that need it.
Shane?
Well, I'll tell you right away, I was a strong supporter of getting early childhood education into our school system. There's lots of studies that show if we can get them then, how much less it costs the district down the road. Our sped expense is somewhere around $44,000 a month, and we used to get what we got back from the state was about 40%. They have since changed that. We're getting reimbursed about 80% now, so that makes some difference. But when you're talking the school standing 40% of that 44,000 every month, if we can get these kids in earlier and we can cut that by quite a little, and I've talked to our special ed person, and she says that it is making a huge difference already.
That stipend that you're getting to decrease your cost, does that come from the state or the federal?
State, I believe.
Okay. James?
Yeah, who isn't in favor of early childhood education? It was done when they did it. They said, well, they were trying to get ahead of behavior and discipline problems that were going on in the school, trying to address those issues. And that's a fantastic thing. We need that. There was also a cost to doing it. Okay. They added cost to the school system to do that. There were private preschools in Valentine that closed when they added that. You know, there was a thought that, well, we'll get all the kids that are having problems. Well, we're not getting all those kids that are having problems because they're already maxed out. I spoke at the school board meeting when they were proposing that, and I just wanted to see a plan. What is our thought process and our plan behind this? And I didn't feel that they had a real adequate layout. Where are we at in 5 years? Where does this take us, and where do we get to? We're going to address behavioral problems. We're going to fix these kids before they become an issue. Okay, but what is the cost of doing this, and where are we doing this? Does it mean in 5 years that we're pushing our 8th graders into the high school? Does it mean we've got to expand the middle school because we've got too many 5th graders coming in? I mean, those are things, and that's the long range thought that needs put into these decisions. There needs to be somebody that's asking the questions, the hard questions of why, and not just going, oh yeah, that's fantastic. Absolutely, I support early childhood education, but you've got to ask the questions.
Cindy.
Thank you. Yes, preschool early childhood education is important. I also think it's important to work with them at school, at home as well. But yes, in this, like having it moved into the school system, is that the question, more or less?
Yes.
Like,
what's the role of preschool and childhood education?
Okay, yeah. So like our role as the district is to support all education, I think, so.
Okay, Joe.
Yes, I do support the early childhood education. I think the numbers show we needed it in this district. And I feel that any extra education you can get to these youngsters that aren't getting it at home can help them advance sooner when they get into kindergarten and et cetera. Thank you.
Okay, Joe, this one you're going to love. LB 1329 authorizes small schools to have security staff and carry guns in school and school activities. Are you in favor of this? And I'll amend it with the other part of the second question from somebody else. Should teachers be able to carry?
Oh, that's a hard one.
I said you would love it.
No, I don't. I think we are so fortunate to live in an area we do live in. You see the school shootings and everything that goes on in the world, and then you say, yes, I think teachers should be able to protect themselves. But I honestly feel that we live in an area that we have a security system looking into getting more secure in the buildings, that I don't think they need to do it as of this time.
Lindy, but while you're thinking about that, Lindy, I do not have any rapid fire questions. So if y'all want to write some down, raise your hand. We'll send our folks to pick them up. Lindy.
This is a hard question. It goes a lot of directions because there's so many more questions that you can branch off of, because if I say yes to have them carry, it goes into a whole nother like mental health discussion with all the teachers and everybody being trained correctly and all the things. So I could also say no, but if they have a strong security system with the doors and things like that to where we won't have to have the teachers carry, that's another thing to look at. So.
Okay, James.
I don't know if I have a different perspective on this or not. I had a prosecutor friend of mine once said, you know, an inanimate object never jumped up and hurt anyone. Do I think there should be guns in school and I think every teacher should be able to carry? No, I don't. I think responsible people should be able to carry. I think if you have retired law enforcement and you have law enforcement, they should be able to carry. Right now, if you have, let's say Brandon Armisher is off duty, he walks into the school, he's violating the state law. a law enforcement officer can't walk into that school and have a duty weapon on them, and have a weapon on them unless they're on duty. Those are things that this bill will address. It will put it in the local control. It will allow the local board to make a decision about whether or not they want to allow that, or allow a teacher, or allow, I don't know, let's say Rusty decides to retire and sheriff and wants to teach, I don't know, ag class. Are we going to say Rusty Osborne's not qualified to carry a gun? He's probably the most qualified guy in the county. I think it needs to be in the local control, and I think that's what this bill will do for us. It will allow us to have local boards make local decisions on who should carry, and it will also open it up to allow people that are reasonable, that are responsible, and have had proper training, like law enforcement officers, to carry in the school system.
Thank you, James. Shane?
Yeah, no doubt that's a tough question, but I totally agree that if we bring it back to our decision-making, I believe if the person is properly trained, that if you have an instance where an incident where that happens, as we've seen around the country, before law enforcement, before anybody else can get there, the damage is already done. If you have somebody that is there on spot, once again, I want to reaffirm, with proper training, if we have somebody in our school with proper training, that's the very first defense right there. They're there. They can protect the students, number one, then themselves, then the rest of our faculty and staff. So with proper training, with proper rules and regulations set by our board, yes.
Byron?
Follow suit. Yes, has to be proper training. You have to have the hours put in to know what you're doing and what your target is. You can't just put somebody, every teacher have it, or every school board member carry. No. I think the bill that is brought up is addressing off-duty officers, I think, or retired officers. And therefore, if you were a police officer, I think you can carry anytime you want. I mean, you've already took the hours in the training. So to follow the bill, yes. I mean, it'll put it back down to the local level, but I would vote yes for an off-duty officer to carry inside the Valentine school system.
Tyler?
As far as the bill goes, yes. I think they should be able to carry. But it needs to be in the board's control. Do I think it's necessary at this time? Not where we live. I don't believe we need it at this time. Am I opposed to it? No. I think with the proper training that an off-duty officer should be able to carry inside our school.
So, Tyler, we have the perfect follow-up question for this, so we'll go back the other way with this. And then, do you support searching lockers of students with the sheriff, or whatever the case may be, looking for weapons or drugs?
I would have to say yes at this time, because I think there is a drug problem in our school. And I think that not enough is being done about it.
Byron?
I would say yes. I've had talks with school officials, as I'd say, and to answer the question, this could have been a rapid fire one, but yes, I do support that.
There's no handbook that says you have to take all of the 90 seconds, Byron.
Okay.
You can cut off at any. You can say yes and pass.
Now
the
you sound like my
microphone.
wife. She told me not to ramble.
No, I do not sound like your wife. Let's be clear.
But no, yes.
Yes, I support it in every way. I asked our admin once that we were looking at some new technology for security, and they said yes, that law enforcement brings it in, brings the dog in, and they go through and they check it. And I said, well, how often do they find anything? He said, every single time. And I think my kids being in the district, I want all the protection that they can have.
James?
The wholesale going through of student lockers, no, but with proper probable cause and having a dog do a sniff, absolutely. We have a drug problem in our school. Then we have a drug problem if nobody wants to admit it. I know a school district pretty close to here that they picked up 20 vape cartridges that they found laying around and just had their local law enforcement test them to see, what they were. All 20 of them, 100% tested positive for marijuana. We've got kids walking around in our school system right now that are vaping daily in that school. That's a drug. You have to be 21 years old in the state of Nebraska to have tobacco. That's a tobacco product. You have to be old enough. Those laws are being violated, and we're not doing anything about it. There's technology out there that could address those things, and absolutely bringing the dog in and around can address those things. But we've got to be proactive in it.
Lindy?
Yes, I absolutely think that that is an okay thing.
Joe?
Yes, I do think we need that, and it's all about the education and keeping the children safe.
All right, Joe, I have a question because I only have one left. I need people with questions, and we're going to wrap this up. But I have a question before I get to this question. I hit the good fortune of speaking in between 12 and 20 schools annually. Just spoke in York High School recently. And I see the difference in the schools, in the systems, is some schools create a wonderful culture for the teachers. Often the teachers are overlooked. And the teachers don't feel like they're able to teach today because of all this stuff that No Child Left Behind and everything created. So what is your role as a board member to make sure we create the right culture so that teachers enjoy teaching like they did at one time and create that learning environment for the kids?
Teaching would be tough this day and age. And I think we have to, and we've done, is try to get aides to help the teachers, get more aides in there to help with the discipline issues. And then I think they have more time to teach and make the culture in their classroom the way that teacher wants it.
Lindy?
That sounds good, Joe. But I think also maybe communication with parents also. Like if you are having troubles, I guess I don't know for sure how this all goes, but if a student is being disruptive in class, it needs to be taken to the parents and made a plan to figure out. So if it's causing issues with the rest of the class, it needs to be addressed. So, and followed through with taking corrective action or whatever.
James?
As a board, you need to provide the resources for your administration to back up those teachers, to address the issues those teachers have. I can tell you, I've got a sixth grader who, she comes home and is doing homework, and I ask, well, why are you doing homework? You had study hall. Well, I couldn't think in class because, little Johnny was making a lot of noise or misbehaving or stuff like that. And the teachers a lot of times have to keep those kids in those classrooms. And so you have a teacher dealing with one student or two students that are just disrupting the whole class, destroying the educational opportunities for the whole rest of the class. We need to come up with some solutions to address getting those kids addressed that are behavioral problems, but not detracting from the kids that need to actually learn. I had a teacher, and I won't name names, but said, why couldn't we have an alternative classroom in some of our schools where, I have a kid misbehaving in my class. I can say, hey, go to the principal's office. You're not coming back for the day. Maybe you need to go to this class with, you have a para that's on you for this little kid to, one, help with an IEP to help him get where he needs to be and not hold the rest of the class back.
Shane?
Well, could you repeat the question again, please? Because I thought the question was about culture. And will you repeat that?
Create a culture where the teachers feel like they are there to teach the kids and create that learning environment for the kids as a board member?
Well, I think culture is generational. I think one thing that we need is to come up with programs and such that the kids that are graduating from Valentine Community Schools are going on, getting their education, and they're coming back to our district. And I think those cultures, I think, come back with them. Just for one example, our FFA kids, our instructor took over 40 kids down there this year. And our principal said you could pull Valentine off the back of their jackets and you'd be able to tell the kids that come from Valentine. They were opening doors. They were doing that. So I think we've worked with some internship programs. I think we need to do that. I think we need to work with people in our community, business owners, whatnot, to get maybe help with education so that they can help with some of their education, and then they can come back to our community. These kids that are raised in the community with the values that we raise our kids with, starting at the kitchen table with the parents, that we can get those kids to come back with that culture generation after generation.
Byron.
To answer the question directly, we have to support our teachers. I mean, we have great teachers in the school system. You have to support them to let them teach. I guess I'm going to make it simple. Support your teachers and you will have the culture that we need. As the board, if you're a good board, they say start at the bottom up with your questions. Start at the top down. The board's at the top. Make it good for everybody below you. Encourage them. Give them what you want them to teach and support them with everything that they have. So support your teachers.
All right, Tyler.
I agree with Byron. You got to support your teachers. But I think communication is a big key with that. You need to be talking to these teachers and finding out what they are lacking and what they need.
So you're first up, and then my follow-up question is not mine. It just came to me, but I would like to have asked it myself. Every one of you talked about the teachers creating a better culture, putting more focus on the teachers, and the problems the teacher has teaching by keeping track of the kids that are the problem kids in the class. There seems to be a lack of focusing on the kids who excel. And there's a tremendous problem in holding those kids back. What do we do about that? Oh, and the final part of that is, will funding be available for both?
The funding, I do not know. That's something I'd have to look into. As far as kids being held back because of other students, is that what the question is?
Correct. There are, in every small school, you have kids that are just, they're reading books because they've already done their work 2 days ahead of everybody else. And those kids are not allowed to spread their wings, if I can use that.
So I think that ought to be a conversation held with the parent and maybe be talked about moving up a grade. If they're that far ahead, that ought to be a conversation with the parent and between the parent and the teachers, I believe.
Okay. Byron?
Okay. I know you've done it twice, but let's do it a third time. Question, please.
We talked about how the teachers are spending so much time with the kids that are causing the problems. There doesn't seem to be anything for the kids who excel, and they're held back.
Okay. I wouldn't say I have a daughter like that, but I do. School comes easy for her. So when she was elementary, the teachers moved her up. I mean, we have great teachers here. They did excel her. She was held to a higher count on reading. I mean, they had her reading books tougher than her. So certain teachers do that, I guess. And then we go back to funding. You need another teacher, another aide to do that. If you want to excel, we're going to have to spend money to have somebody else there to teach them kids. So you'd have to look at your budget. If you're going to add more classes, you're going to have more teachers.
Okay, Shane.
Well, it's been a concern of mine for a long time, this exact same thing. But we also have to look at, like, if you're in math in high school, you can take math 1 or you can take calculus. There are choices there. I think on the federal level and the state level, down through the education system, and I think we're working with our admin all the time for this, but there is a culture that's wanting to be generated that they want to bring the top down towards the bottom so that everyone is equal. And we have programs in place. I think our teachers are doing a phenomenal job. I just want to say I'm lucky that my kids get to go to a country school. There's several different grades there. And the teachers at our country school, if our kids are excelling, they're helping them right on through with the next set of books. So,
James.
It comes down to the teachers and administration evaluating teachers. I mean, we have some teachers in our system that push kids. I mean, I'll use my daughter as an example. When she was in elementary school, she came home crying because math class was so hard. She'd never seen that stuff before. Well, it's because she had math done a week before everybody else. And the teacher just said, she didn't quite understand that that wasn't required, that she was just ahead of everybody. But we have some really high quality teachers in our school. According to the Valentine Community Schools profile and annual report, 6.63% of the Valentine community students are qualified as high ability learners. 14.87% of students are qualified as special education services. The school system gets educational money for special education and high ability learners. We get money for both of those. I think we forget about some of those kids that are high ability learners because they don't take more time. They don't take an extra para. They just need teachers to help push them. And that comes down to administration and accountability. The administration needs to be evaluating teachers, and they need to be seeing who's willing to put the extra work in. We have some teachers in the school that are phenomenal. They push these kids to the limit. We have some teachers that they're there at 8:30 or 8 o'clock, and at 3:45 they're out the door.
Okay, Landy.
This also goes with communication with the parents as well. You want to definitely make sure your kids are being challenged and, being taught with how they are learning as well, because they do have, a classroom full of kids where it's one teacher meeting all of their needs, which is quite the job. But yes, it's kind of like focusing on the D in the class that you might have when you have an A over here in the class next door or something. So it is, rewarding the kids that are doing well too also goes with helping the kids that might need extra help too. So just providing challenges for the ones that need the extra challenge is important.
Joe.
I feel that we have great teachers, and I think our gifted and talented kids are already getting extra help or extra push. Our teachers back them. I mean, I don't see where they're being held back at all. I think they try to push them more if they know they're gifted and talented.
Okay, a 2-question warning. The last question will be mine. This is a question from the audience. What will you do if a transgender student asks you to use the opposite bathroom, opposite of their biological sex? And I'm going to say, as an amendment, don't answer with, that'll never happen in Valentine. Joe, you're first.
I would say that they need to go use a private bathroom. They will not be allowed to use the opposite sex bathroom. There should be a separate bathroom that they can use.
Lindy.
I agree with that. They need to have their own to go to.
James.
You will use the bathroom of your biological birth sex. Hands down. Okay, this issue's come up at several other schools and stuff, and I don't know if anybody's read recently, but there's some lawsuits going on right now. There was a really bad case in Virginia where a little girl was raped in the girls' bathroom because a little boy said, "I'm a girl, I'm going to go to the girls' bathroom." No, you go to the bathroom of your biological sex.
Shane.
Yes, I agree. You should use the bathroom of your biological sex. You said, how do we, your question was, how do we stop that? One thing I think, looking at law-wise, do we know what their biological sex is? I mean, I think that's something we have to be careful of, because we could get in some real trouble with that. But I do believe that they should use the bathroom of their biological sex.
Byron?
God, don't make mistakes. You're going to use, if I'm on the board, we're going to have a policy that use the bathroom that you were given.
Tyler?
You should be using the bathroom that you were given. And if there isn't a policy already in hand, there needs to be.
So my final question is, we went through a very diverse group of questions from everybody here, and I think those are excellent. And I think about the thing that we talk about most in Nebraska, which is our property tax problem. We had tons of questions for our county commissioners on property tax problems. The property tax goes to fund the school board, and we did not have one single question about property tax for the school board. Who's first? Joe. How are you going to be more diligent with the taxpayer money to be a part of the solution for the property tax problem without sacrificing education for our kids?
How am I going to be more diligent?
Spend less money to get a better education, to put a relief into the tax burden.
That's a tough one because we got to pay our teachers and our staff. But I think you got to watch the budget. I mean, if you don't have the money in the budget, you can't go and fund a new gym because the education comes first. That's all I need to say.
Lindy.
That is a hard one. You guys ask really hard questions for these for the moment. But how to be diligent, just to be very careful with the budget and, making sure that what you are spending as a board member or voting for is actually going to benefit the children and the education of our future kids because, they are our future, obviously, but it just needs to go for them to, have a pretty level head, I guess, and know what you're spending.
James.
Budgets have to be held within, but the other thing you've got to do is you've got to have the forethought and the ability to look ahead and see what the impact of this is going to be down the road, because you can make a decision today that costs a lot of money in the future. You've got to quantify things into what are these that they wants or they needs. I spent 4 years holding a budget in line. This budget is twice what the county spends. The school levies twice what the county does. There are room and there are things that could be done. I have an intimate knowledge of a couple of different school systems, mechanical systems, and yet we contract with the contractors that aren't local. There are things that could be done that would spend money local, give better services for the school at cheaper prices.
Shane.
Well, I just want to say that it can be done because as one of the members of the board, we've done it. We brought, like I said, 21, 22, and then 22, 23, our tax request was exactly the same. And we brought all our certified, non-certified staff, we brought those up. Our teachers, we brought them up in the array. Our admin, we brought up in our array. And we have to take care of those people because it's very important that they're taken care of. But we have worked through our budget. This our budget for 23-24, which I'm sorry, it would be 24, 25. Actually, the state aid formula changed and we got it back, but we have a reduction of 5.6% because, and part of that is due that we used to get 75,000 roughly, and last year we got 940,000 in state aid, which that was changed. But I feel that we are doing it and we can do it because we've proved it.
Byron.
Budgets are always the great thing that everybody likes to talk about. You have to prioritize. What do you want first? What's the most important thing on your budget that you're going to pay for? And go down. And when you get to the bottom, if you're out of money, the things on the bottom get cut.
And Tyler.
I'd like to see each individual department at the school be held accountable for their budget, because the way I understand it right now, they're not being. If the whole school system's under budget, it's okay, and I think each department needs to be held accountable.
All right, we're going to close the same way we did the county commissioners. You have 30 seconds to tell us why we should vote for you for Valentine School Board. Tyler, you're up.
I have a lot of enthusiasm towards this. I think we could do some really good things with the school board.
James, you're up.
You're skipping around here.
I'm keeping you on your toes.
Yeah. I didn't even have the mic.
You lost 10 seconds.
I'm asking for your vote. The basis is, we have one shot at these kids. We've got to get it right. I have 4 years of proven conservative leadership, proven handling a budget, proven holding a budget, understand the difference between spending other people's money and the fiduciary duties that requires. And also, you've got to be smart enough in this job to understand that you may not be the smartest man in the room or the woman in the room, but you have to be able to find the answers.
Joe.
The primary responsibility of a school board is to provide direction and oversight to the professionals who manage the school operations and provide accountability to the community.
Byron.
I'm asking for your vote. I need your vote. There's a lot of things going to come down the line that the board's going to have to decide for. If we don't put the right people there, we might not have the right decisions we want. I'm always available to talk to, and I will take your concerns into consideration.
Lindy.
I am just a mom, like several people around here, and I'm pretty easy to talk to. I feel like I have a pretty level head on my shoulders, so I'm open to all ideas, and I would love your vote. And I just did this on a whim, and it is it's fun. It's been fun. So I would appreciate your vote. And if you have any questions, reach out. And my phone number's in the phone book, just like everybody else's.
Shane.
Well, I guess I feel I'd appreciate your vote. I feel I bring experience, and I think going through the budgets through the years is that, and there's a lot more than just budgets. There's all kinds of things, and I've seen what it takes to run an efficient board. I believe I bring balance. I'm a taxpayer. I understand what it's like to spend the money that you put in the pot, and
you're done. A round of applause for everybody here. That was fantastic. Thank you, one and all. Kathy, it's all you.
All right, thank you, Joe, Lindy, James, Shane, Byron, and Tyler for coming. We really appreciate that. Thank you all, for coming and attending. I want to especially thank Trent for coming and helping us out. I think he did a fabulous job. I also want to thank KVSH, Mike Burge, for coming and broadcasting this all to the KVSH audience, and thank the KVSH audience for joining us. I'd like to thank all you Cherry County residents for coming and joining us, as well as those online. I want to thank you, all of the Central Committee, the Cherry County Republican Party Central Committee for putting this together. Can we give them a hand? They did a good job. So please take the time to continue to ask these candidates questions and the other candidates as well that are going to be on our ballot coming up here on the primary. And again, thank you for coming and have a good evening.